Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Luke Monster. Today is going to be our first episode of Throwback Thursday, a brand new series on the channel where we're going to be looking at older Star Wars Black Series figures and reviewing them and comparing them to today's standards. And what better way to start it off than what I truly believe to be the best Black Series figure of all time, Clone Captain Rex. We got this figure back in 2018, and it was actually one of the first figures to include photoreal paint applications, which is really nice. It was originally released at San Diego Comic-Con, or maybe it was a HasCon. It was at some convention, because there was a convention exclusive. I'll throw up the photo. That did not include the photoreal face, but they did release a mainline one later that did. So this one is a great figure. Let's go ahead, get him off of the spinny stand, and take a closer look. Overall, packaging-wise, this figure was released in the red box standard packaging, so, you know, the staple of packaging we had for 5 years straight there, and it's nice to get some change in the more modern days, but at the time this was standard packaging and it got the job done. As far as accessories go with this guy, he does just have the standard clone pistols, so nothing out of the ordinary. Most of the clones at the time came with a lot more blasters, so it was kind of a shame that he only got the pistols, but they do fit right into the holsters, which they are pretty hard to get into the holsters, but that is a nice feature if you do want to do that. Anyway, moving into articulation. For a long time, this was the best articulation we had ever seen on a clone trooper, and it might still be. It depends what you value when it comes to articulation, but he gets quite a bit here at the elbow, well past 90 degrees. It does have a swivel here at the bicep, and of course, he can go all the way out into a T-pose if you would like. It goes all the way around on this arm. Unfortunately, the pauldron does get in the way on this one, but he still has a lot of range of motion here if that's what you need. With the helmet on, he does not have much head articulation, maybe a little side to side, maybe a little up and down, not a ton though. Removing the helmet, we will put that back on here in a second, but he just does have the standard side to side and up and down, no tilt at all, but that's because it's not on a double ball joint like a lot of the newer clones. Looking at the ab area, it is on a ball joint, but not a ton of range there. Looking at the legs, you can kick up a decent amount. The little tip here of the armor does kind of get in the way, but he does have a thigh swivel. Looking at the legs, he does have double jointed legs and can get quite a bit on the legs there. That's about as far as it can go. Then looking at the ankles, he does have a little bit of a pivot here, not a ton, and then he does have rockers as well. And I did forget to mention, but he does have a horizontal hinge and a vertical hinge on the hands. So overall, really good articulation. Let's kind of compare that to a modern day clone. Comparing his articulation to a modern-day clone on the 2020 body, he does get a lot more range at the elbows, which is nice, but that is because it is the double-jointed, so that does help a little bit, but I do like the pinless look of the single-jointed arms, so it goes back and forth. I think, you know, this one might be a little bit better for posing, but for, like, actual display, the pinless looks better. Looking at the head, obviously this one is on the double ball joint, so one at the top of the head and one at the neck, so ton of range of motion here. And another big pro of the 2020 mold is that it does have butterfly joints. Kind of hard to see here, but that is something that this mold does not have. Then of course he does have a lot more range of motion here just because this big chest piece is a lot smaller than this one, so he does get a lot more ab crunch in there. Now of course, I think he does get a little bit better articulation if I don't knock him over knee-wise with this guy, and of course it is pinless as well, but you do have the problem with the knee pad being wrong on the figure, which is a little unfortunate. So articulation-wise, I think that they are very similar, and overall, I think it definitely holds up to today's standards. Then of course, next up I'm going to look at paint apps, and I just gotta say this one wins paint apps, not even a question. This one has the kind of scuffed blue paint, which I do love. I love that detail there, but with all the dirt and grime on the armor, I just absolutely love how this looks. Even got the little hash marks all over the helmet, which is nice. Overall, great weathering. I know some people don't like weathering, but I personally love weathering. I know some people would prefer to put it on themselves. They prefer a blank clone and then just weather it themselves. I don't know, I'm not really reviewing this as a custom, I'm reviewing it as a straight out of box product, and so that's what I gotta look at. I can't really look at the customability aspect of it. Overall though, it looks great, and I do love the weathering on this figure. It's one of the best in the entire line. Comparing that to the modern day clone, of course, he does have the paint chips, which is nice, but unfortunately no of the dirt and grime, and so it almost makes the paint chips look a little out of place because there's no dirt and grime to make it look like those paint chips actually happened. So it goes back and forth, but I definitely got to give the older paint apps to Captain Rex. And then, of course, looking at the head sculpt here, this head sculpt is incredible for Captain Rex. It's one of the best head sculpts we have in the line, to be honest. Obviously, some of the newer stuff is a little bit better, but it does have that shiny face syndrome, which I'm not a huge fan of. So for a 2018 photoreal application, this one came out really, really good. There is some paint wear and tear here just from it being such an old figure. It goes through the ringer a little bit, but I think it's held up pretty good so far, and I gotta love that Tamora Morrison face. And comparing his face to some of the more modern clones that have come out, we did have Commander Wolf come out a year later in 2019, and he does have a nice 5 o'clock shadow with, of course, the draw, that amazing scar on the eye. Really love that one. This one is an underappreciated figure just because of the paint apps. Obviously, the rest of the figure kind of sucks, so I'll probably cover him in a future Throwback Thursday, but compared to Echo here as well, Echo unfortunately suffers from that shiny face syndrome a lot more, so he looks really sweaty almost, but I do think that he has the best Tamora Morrison likeness, so I think it goes a little bit back and forth, but that shiny face syndrome is kind of a shame. Starting off with comparisons, we do have the leader of the 501st himself, Anakin Skywalker. On the left, we do have the Clone Wars Seasons 1 through 3 version, and on the right, we do have the Revenge of the Sith version. Both would have been around Captain Rex, so it's really nice to get this comparison, and I'm loving how this came out, so no matter what version of Anakin you have, he's going to look great next to Captain Rex. Next up, we do have Rex next to the 332nd Ahsoka Clone Trooper, as well as Ahsoka Season 7 herself on the right. Both are looking really cool. I do have to say, though, I think a big noticeable difference for me is the height. The 332nd does seem to be a little bit taller than Captain Rex. Now, this obviously is the difference between the molds, so I think it also has something to do with the 332nd actually having a neck sculpted in, but you know, either way, I think it works pretty well, and I think with even here, I think Ahsoka looks kind of tall as well. She almost looks a little too tall. Now that's probably more of an Ahsoka fault and not a Rex fault. Either way, though, I think they came out really good and they look great together on the shelf. Moving on to some of the 501st, we do have the AliExpress knockoffs. So we do have Phase 2 Jesse on the left, and we do have Phase 2 Hardcase on the right, looking great. If you guys haven't seen my video on these two characters, I suggest go watching it. It'll be pinned in the card right now. But yeah, these figures are really, really cool, and they look amazing next to Captain Rex. Next up, we do have some named 501sts with ARC Trooper Echo on the left and Clone Pilot Hawk on the right. Two of my favorite Black Series figures here, looking incredible next to Rex as well. Up after that, we do have some unnamed 501sts with just the standard Order 66 4-pack 501st Trooper on the left and just the Jump Trooper on the right. Or I guess it's the 501st Jet Trooper to be specific. But both look great, and they match Captain Rex pretty well. Moving on to some clone commanders, we do have Commander Gree on the left, and we have Commander Fox on the right. I love the contrast of colors here, but with the green, blue, and red. It looks great, and I wish we do get some more commanders in the future, because they're some of my favorites in the line. Continuing with more of those named commanders, we do, of course, have Commander Cody on the left. Now, I do have to mention this every time, and unfortunately, my Commander Cody does have the misprint on the helmet, where they completely forgot to paint the gray stripes, but I still think he looks great next to Rex here, and we do have Wolf on the right, and Wolf is one that I was really excited for, and like I said, I'll have to bring him back for another Throwback Thursday in the future, but he definitely kind of just didn't live up to the standards I had set for him, so he's an interesting character, and like I said, I'll have to do a full review in the future, but they all look good next to Captain Rex. And then lastly, for comparisons, we do have Commander Bly on the left, and the Bad Batch Captain Rex on the right. All of these guys do have that new Rex body, which is interesting, but Commander Bly is one of my favorites, and it's one of the better clone troopers in the line. And then we do have the Captain Rex the Bad Batch version on the right, which honestly does not live up to this Captain Rex at all. For one, it's got a yellowish hinge to it, so I'm not really sure what's up with that, but it also just lacks a lot of the paint apps that this version does, especially on the back. This helmet is completely white, where this one has a lot of details. So it's a little unfortunate, but both are good, and if you don't have this version of Captain Rex, this one is a great substitute. So that is pretty much going to do it for this Throwback Thursday. Overall, I absolutely love this figure still. I got him back in 2019. He was one of the first ever Black Series figures I had gotten, and he still lives up to today's standards, and I even want to say he exceeds today's standards. So let me know what you guys think of the figure down in the comments below, but I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.